So hi everyone, welcome to my talk. Hope you enjoyed your break. So my talk is about freelancing. I'm going to talk about your 9-to-5 jobs and the other possibility. So hello, Здравейте. This is my first time in Bulgaria and I'm very excited to be here. And I come from Taiwan. Maybe a lot of you don't know where it is, but it's a small island in East Asia. And that's where I'm from. And actually, culturally, it's not very much different from Bulgaria. I'm currently a freelancer. I work at Toptal as a senior UX and product designer. And I also organize monthly UX meetup for a nonprofit organization called Ladies at UX. And I'm here to talk about my freelance lifestyle and how it all began. In 2010, I started to use Twitter. Who else here used Twitter? Okay, quite a lot of people. So my handle is Джени Шен. I'll be looking out for your tweets. And in the beginning when I was using Twitter, and I was like, what is this nonsense? Like, do I talk about what I ate for breakfast? Do I just tweet to celebrities or complain about the president or something? And as I started to use it more and more, and I started to find some interesting fellows in tech and design to follow, and I began to have some interesting conversations. And one day in 2011, somebody I followed retweeted this tweet. And this is a magazine in Vancouver, and they were looking for artists to create a poster for the Vancouver Hot Chocolate Festival. And being a lover of chocolate, I replied this tweet, and I said, I love chocolate, pick me. And then I exchanged some emails with their editor back and forth, and I showed them my portfolio, showed them my website, showed them like a food blog I was managing. They liked my passion in chocolate, and they also liked my design style. So we moved, they wanted to move forward, and I was able to get this freelance gig to design a poster for this hot chocolate festival. And my first project was to design this, and I worked with over 15 chocolate shops in Vancouver to help them promote this festival. And for this work, I was compensated in $50 gift cards per merchant. That basically meant I had $750 to spend on chocolate. So I was a very happy girl, and that was my first freelance project. And after that time, I continued to finish my studies. And between the year 2011 to 2012, I had a few internships. And I work in corporate environments like this. I interned at IBM, and I interned at the Government of Canada as a web designer developer. And from these experiences, I realized these kind of work where the tasks are very little, the coffee breaks are very long, and for some people it might be a dream, but I realized that's not really the lifestyle that I like. I like to work on a lot of different things, and I like to keep myself busy. And as I started to build my portfolio, and I built a network online and offline, I started to get more freelance projects. And as I do it more and more, and I realized that I would like this as a full-time career. And some of you might think, well, why aren't you happy getting a stable paycheck and just having like little or no work to do? So here are some benefits I found as a freelancer. The first one is that as a freelancer, you can work from home, cafes, or co-working spaces near you. It's very suitable for people who want to live in the suburbs and not have to pay very expensive rent inside a city center. And I hope some of you don't like traffic jam as much as I don't. And yeah, I heard in Bulgaria the traffic jam is very bad too. And wouldn't it be great if you no longer have to be stuck in traffic and you just go straight to work? Did you know that if you spend 30 minutes one way in commuting, In 1 year, you spend 9 entire days on just commuting alone. The second benefit as a freelancer is that you have a flexible schedule. As a freelancer, you can normally choose your own working hours, and you can work wherever you feel the most productive. So this used to be me a few years ago. For some reason, I am most productive after 9 p.m. And sometimes I even work until 2, 3 a.m. in the morning because I just get into this creative flow. And the benefit as a freelancer is that if you are in this flow and you don't have to stop just because you are off work now, you can continue to finish this project you're working on. And the next benefit as a freelancer is that the interview process is a bit different. I personally don't like job interviews where I have to dress up really formally. And I go into interview and I answer questions like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Or tell me about your biggest weakness. And a lot of us probably had awkward conversations and while not really knowing what to say in an interview. Does anyone actually like these questions? Of course not. Yeah, I hope not. And as a freelancer, the interview is more about your skills. It's more about how do you approach this project as a designer or developer. And tell me about the most recent projects you like to do and what kind of industry you like to work in. It's not about memorizing silly interview question answers like these ones. The next benefit as a freelancer is that I get to wear whatever I want. And this is actually how I go to work most of the time. And as a freelancer, you don't have to dress up really formally, and you don't even have to buy work clothes. So to some people, that is a big benefit. And my favorite benefit as a freelancer is that I get to work wherever I want. Because a lot of tools are enabling teams to start and finish a project entirely offline. So you may know there's video conferencing tools, there's email, of course, there's like Slack, HipChat, and there's Trello or Jira, and all these tools allow people who work in tech to work basically wherever there is the internet. Oops. Sorry about that. And as a result, I was able to travel to 46 countries, and Bulgaria being my 46th country, while maintaining work as a designer. And people who work and travel at the same time are what they call a digital nomad. Digital nomad means, first, the digital means that we work in tech, and our work is online. And nomad means that you are without a home, and you are a vagabond, and you kind of don't have a home base, and you travel around. So basically, we call ourselves digital homeless. And I had experience working from doing wireframes on a beach bar in Vietnam. I co-work with friends in a cafe in Thailand. I work from the airports and cafes in Taiwan. I also worked in Scandinavian cafes in Czech Republic. And I also worked in Singapore in a co-working space that is a movie theater in the nighttime. And I also had experience working from a designer Airbnb that looks very fancy, like a boutique hotel. And that kind of sums up my interesting lifestyle as the digital nomad. And because of these reasons, I kept freelancing. And as I am freelance more, and I realized there are a lot of people actually doing it too, and who also enjoy freelance as a career. Did you know that it's actually a trend, and more people are transitioning to this flexible kind of work style? There's a company who surveyed thousands of freelancers to hear about why they choose freelance and some stats. So let us speak for themselves. So in the video, it talked about how people chose to go into the independent lifestyle and feel happier doing so. And later on in the talk, I will share some tips about how to make freelance a sustainable lifestyle and not have to worry about it being financially secure. So this is Lauren Hong. She is an independent illustrator, and she's actually one of my role models. And here I want to highlight some freelancers who are able to make freelance a successful career. And Lauren Hom, she has worked for Google, Microsoft, Time Magazine, all as an independent illustrator. And the reason why she chose to be independent and a digital nomad lifestyle is because she is a creative like me. And we don't find a lot of inspiration in routine, and we find that working outside of a 9-to-5 actually allow us to be even more productive. And this is Sarah. Some of the front-end developers might know her because she is speaking in a lot of the CSS conferences. She also has co-written a book on responsive web design, and she speaks in a lot of these CSS conferences too. She started her freelance career actually by writing about articles and putting her demo online, and she got her first freelance work actually through CodePen. And this is Mackie. He is a freelance graphic designer. Some of you might not know him, but you must have seen his work because he designed the logo for Instagram and he designed the logo for Oculus. And he worked with a lot of famous brands to design their identity. And he actually started freelancing because he was traveling for his passion. He's a passionate skateboarder. And he wanted to develop his creativity and skills and not to be constrained in art director position. And as for me, as a freelancer, I was able to work with clients from various industries. And so far, I've worked with clients from over 10 countries. My project ranged from the travel industry to e-commerce to SaaS, mobile apps, and a lot more. And some of you might start to think, that sounds great. And how do I become a freelancer? Can you tell me some of the ways that I can get my first freelance project? And as a freelancer, I actually get this question the most often. That is, how do I find great clients and make sure that I have a consistent income as a freelancer? And to be frank, this is the holy grail of any business. That basically means this is the dream state of every company and every person. And I would like to say that if I can give you one answer that everybody can just go ahead and do, and they can make sure that from day one they can start to get consistent income and clients, that would basically mean that I become a millionaire. The reason is because this is kind of like the secret of how to run a business. Imagine if today you start a restaurant, and how do you guarantee that from day one you have people lining outside of your restaurant, and your restaurant is interviewed by TV, and then you have celebrities visiting? So this is something that actually takes a long time to get to, or takes really good planning and business strategy. And you might see that these famous freelancers, or that, for example, I have a background or experience working with a lot of clients, but actually it does take time and work to get there. Some people, they have worked with agencies to build up their portfolio. And some people actually just continue to build a portfolio and work on their business strategy. So I cannot give you that's one secret, but I can give you some tips on how to land your first client. So the first tip is to consider your portfolio. So even though portfolio might not seem as important to developers as to designers, but it is actually important too. Because if you are a client and you're looking for somebody to build your website or app or mobile app, and then the first thing that they want to know is, what are you capable of? Imagine if today you're a client. Would you be more interested to hire Jack with a really cool portfolio, or would you hire somebody whose portfolio looks like a bootstrap template? So make sure to spend some time in the design and also really showcase what you're able to do in your portfolio. And another tip is to make sure that your portfolio reaches the audience that you want to reach. That actually means that if your portfolio is in a local language, it can only reach the people who speak that language. And if your portfolio is in English, that means it's able to reach a lot more people who can read that language. The second point is about your online presence. So online presence is not only your portfolio, but it's basically what people know about you from online. Let me give you an example. So when I travel and I am looking for example, a coffee, or I'm looking for Indian restaurant. And maybe a few years ago, usually how people approach it is that they go onto the street and then look on the street, okay, where is this Indian restaurant, or where's like some good coffee in this neighborhood. But nowadays, there's the internet. So what people do is that they go to Google Maps and they type in a keyword, or they go to Yelp or Foursquare, and they can easily search whatever they're looking for. And for example, today I want to go to an Indian restaurant, and I am able to search for the menu, for the price range, what people say about the restaurant, all from online. And if people already do it to look for coffee or food, imagine what people actually do when they are looking for a developer. So basically, people will look you up online and understand what you are about. What's your project like? What kind of things do you talk about? Are you blogging? Do you have LinkedIn, or do you have Twitter, for example? And make sure to keep your online presence up to date, because these basically is your online identity. People will look you up when they are looking not only for an employee, but a freelancer. And the next tip is to network. Believe it or not, clients, when they are looking for somebody, they usually look inside their own network first. And as a freelancer, your goal is to become that person where, for example, if you have a friend and they have a friend who's looking for a Python developer, backend developer, and your goal is to be the person that they first think of, and then have the person reach out to you or make an introduction. It's really valuable to have a big network where it expands your reach to find freelance clients. And all of you here for the conference because you want to learn, and I think that's great. And there are different kind of people who come to conferences. The first one, they come here to network. They want to get to know their fellow developers. They want to know some companies who are having a booth here. And the other kind of attendees, they come to the talk and then come here for the knowledge, and then they go home immediately afterwards. And for the latter kind of people, I here have a challenge for you. For networking, you never know where your first freelance clients will be. So why don't you talk to a person that you don't know during the conference, not during my talk, and introduce yourself, talk about what you're working on, and that you're available for freelance. And you never know, maybe this person, this new connection you made during the conference can in the future either be your client or introduce you to a potential client. I know a lot of developers actually hate networking, but I know you can do it. So I challenge you to talk to and somebody you don't know and make a new connection. The next tip is to work on side projects or contribute to open source. And remember Sarah, the CSS developer that I mentioned earlier, she got her first freelance job through CodePen because she was demoing some of the projects that she was working on. And Alias Rodionov, he helped out with Mozilla in automation test. And because of his contribution, Mozilla gave him a contributor title. And that actually helped to impress his potential clients and was able to help him in his freelance career. And because that he was known for his contribution in Mozilla, actually, he was invited to join Toptal by Toptal's CEO. Another example, this is Gagan. He is a WordPress open source contributor. So one day he was browsing through the WordPress open source forums, and he realized that a lot of people are talking about how there's a bug with image rotation. So he created a plugin to solve that issue. And because of this fixed image rotation plugin, he got 8 freelance projects. So basically his clients reached out to him because the clients had some projects related to image metadata and image manipulation. And the client was able to see his output quality, logical thinking, and understand that this is something that he built and a lot of people use it. So these contributions or side project can help a developer find the freelance project. And tip number 5 is to do it the old-fashioned way to apply to freelance jobs. If you Google freelance job board, you actually will find a lot of results. And it is old-fashioned, but it actually still works. So subscribe to them and subscribe to alerts, and then still do apply. And then some people actually have gotten freelance gig out of it, even though it is quite competitive. The last tip is to join the freelance community. So there are a lot of different freelance communities, each run different ways. Most of them you have to apply, and some of them they help you match with clients. Some of them you have to pitch to clients, and some of them it's a different process. So you can join the ones that you find are suitable for you. And in the video, actually, people talk about being a freelancer. There's not a lot of community support or professional development. And the company that I'm a part of, Toptal actually offers professional development such as public speaking training or open source grants. So these kind of things actually show that as a freelancer, you are not alone. And there are resources to help you develop your skills and develop in your own career. And there are a combination of ways and combination of measures you can take to find your first freelance clients. And you can be creative, and you never know. Your first freelance project can be around the corner. And the next time you're counting down to Friday and waiting for the weekend, and maybe waiting till you get off work, remember that you are in control of your life and career. And you are the one who chooses what kind of lifestyle you want to have. And we don't need to live the life like this. Благодаря. So they are setting up the Q&A box so that you can ask me any questions you want to ask.
So, we will continue with this. If there are questions, please raise your hands. 1 hand, 2 hands, legs, whatever you have. We have something like 20 minutes for questions, so let's do this somewhere around here. Yeah.
Hi, Jenny. First, I want to praise you for the... Hello, Jenny. First,
I
I
see
want to praise you for the great slides and presentation. I really enjoyed it. And I wanted to talk about the thing you said about networking. So you mentioned that it's cool to network in conferences and other events like that. My question to you is, how do you actually network effectively?
Oh, how to network effectively. I would say if somebody is trying to network with me or when I network with someone, I make sure to leave an impression because the first impressions are really important. And I would say effective depends on how you measure it. I think your end goal is for actually making a connection and not just somebody who knows your name and then you forget about them afterwards. So the first tip I have is to make an impression. And that can just be you talking about yourself. Just be yourself. And maybe you can talk about non-work related stuff. For example, maybe you will find out you and a person sitting next to you are both into, I don't know, games or something. And any way that you can make the person that you're networking with kind of remember you, or that you can ask a really thoughtful question, or that you can exchange some contact. And I think it's quite important to stay in contact after the networking session. And I personally, I add people on LinkedIn, like I get their email, I get a name, and I follow each other on Twitter. So networking can be done physically and can also be done online to kind of strengthen the connection.
All right, I'm here. More questions?
Hi. I have a question concerning teamwork, and I want to ask if you have worked in a team of more than 2 or 3 people, so let's say like 5 or 6 that need to collaborate quite closely, and how do you deal with the work time of each other? I mean, do you coordinate, do you set some sort of a working hours that you be available to communicate and to talk to and, you know, work together? So yeah, basically that's the question that I have.
So from what I understand, you're asking about how I basically work with others. And in my freelance job, I actually do work with others, so I am not the only person in a team. I work with developers, I work with product owners, I even work with other designers. So in your question, you actually do mention about hours. Yes, I do set my own hours. However, it is not always 9 to 5. Sometimes I have the flexibility to move my hours, like if I have an appointment or something, and I move my hours around, and my clients are usually quite flexible with that. So I do, for example, if the engagement is to work 4 days a week or 5 days a week, then I work 5 days a week. And in terms of collaboration with others, a lot of the times we use Slack or some project management tools. And me and my client, for example, I am currently working with the head of Asia in the company, and the head of Asia is based in, well, of course, Asia. And then we find time almost every day to kind of catch up for 5 to 10 minutes really quickly to go over some things, some tasks I'm working on, any blockers. So all of the collaboration is remote. And yes, I do set my working hours.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
I believe there was a question from the front, yeah.
Coming. Can you raise your hand again? All right. So, can you pass the microphone, please?
Hi. I want to ask, is it not difficult to move around the world with not stable income, because some countries are very expensive, some of them are not. Even in Bulgaria, you can spend a lot of money just for 3 days in accommodation, and I see that as an issue. How do you deal with that?
So the question is more about how do I deal with like unstable income while traveling, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the unstable income, I would say that the best way to address it, of course, to have the digital nomad lifestyle, it is not wise to go ahead and roam around the world and not even have money to pay for the flight tickets. So what a lot of people do is that they have some savings already, so that in case of like emergencies, or for example, today you're buying a one-way ticket and you got checked like where's your return ticket at the airport, and you need to have money to buy that, of course. Or for example, if the coffee turns out to be more expensive than you expected, then yes, I will recommend for the person who wants to start this digital nomad lifestyle, definitely have like some savings for these kind of things, and also make a budget. For example, if today you're going to this country where you know the cost of living is lower, then maybe you can set, okay, for this month I will spend 800 euros just this month. But if you're going to some country that's more expensive, if you're going to nomad in Holland, for example, it's actually not cheap. And maybe you have the budget 1,500 euros. So just know, first research what is the cost of living in a country, kind of make a budget for yourself, and then have savings before you go on your trip.
Thank you.
There's a...
Okay, just one more question.
Sure.
If you have been working for 2 weeks on some project and you have like 1 week, another week to finish it, and you have 2 clients that want to work with you, how do you deal with that? Do you tell them to wait? Do you promise them something? How do you manage the different clients in the timeline?
Okay, so to make sure I understand it correctly, you're saying that you're working with a client, and then I'm working with them for like 2 weeks, and then the last week of the project, there's somebody who wants to hire me for the exact same week. Is that right?
Well, not exactly. Somebody wants to work with you, or a couple of different clients want to work with you, but you're busy with another project.
Right. Yeah, so how do I deal with like that overlapping the project schedule? I tell them that I am busy. I tell them that my project will end at the end of a month. This is my earlier start date. So you have to, because people will actually ask you, when is your soonest availability? The same with looking for a job. They will ask you, are you okay to start 1st of December? Can you start earlier? So it's just to be honest about that you have actually some project on hand. And actually that's a good thing, because they know that you are working with a client. You are not like desperate for anything. So it's actually good to tell them the truth that you have another project, but it will wrap out in 1 week. That's when I can start.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let's try the cube. Hold the cube.
Okay, so one benefit of working for companies that I see is that you get to work on larger projects, for example, working with big data. And for me, I'm a backend developer, so I don't get to work on front end, etc. Is it possible to do such work in a freelance environment? So, yeah, big projects and some kind of specialization skills.
Yeah, I will say definitely. I also know a few friends that are freelancers. I have friends that are data scientists. I have friends in front-end developer, back-end developer. I think it all comes down to your online presence or in your portfolio, because I think, sure, back-end, it's not something you can see really easily, but I'm pretty sure that there's a way to show your skills. And in a freelance, like a freelance interview, it's more about, okay, so what would you do in this kind of project? And unfortunately, I'm not a back-end developer, so I cannot answer like how to do the interview, but I think it's definitely doable.
Right.
And as I mentioned previously, there's like open source things where people do demonstrate their skills, and I think like your clients, maybe the CTO or something, then they can have a look at your GitHub, go through your experience.
All right, so next I'll throw this, and please, when you're asking questions, stand up so Jen can see you, and also we can take pictures. All right, I'll try to throw it. Bear with me.
Yay! The first question is how did I make a transition into a freelancer? And then second one is how did I get my first freelance client? So my transition point from like a full-time worker to a freelancer, it was like sometime in 2015, and I was working for a travel company based in Amsterdam. And actually in Holland, it is, for some reason, quite common to not offer a permanent contract and to have just like 6 months, 7 months, 1 year contract. So my contract with that company was up, and they decided to not renew. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I would go pursue my freelance career, because I always wanted to do it for some point. But I am afraid, because I worry about what if I don't have the next enough income, enough clients for the next year. But I know that this is my goal. I know this is something that I really want for a really long time. For 6 years, I've been building my portfolio and polishing my business, sales, pitching skills to get to that point. So I know that I have to start no matter what. So I just started. And so far it is turning out quite well, and I'm quite lucky. And my first freelance gig is, according to the slides I've showed previously, it was through Twitter. It was a magazine based in Vancouver, and they were looking for somebody to design a poster for a festival. So I replied to the tweet, and I showed them my food blog, I showed them my portfolio, and they liked my style, and yeah, we agreed to work together.
Over here. All right, so I think we have something like 10 minutes more.
Yeah, about 10 minutes.
About 10 minutes, yeah. So, who's next?
There's
Over
one in
there.
the back.
Yeah, I can't roll that far. All right. You?
Okay.
Yours.
Thanks for the great presentation. I have a question for, actually, how do you make work long-term personal relationships with your family or friends?
That's a really good question. So yeah, the question is, how do I maintain or foster relationship with friends and family? So I keep in touch with my family also remotely. We talk kind of once in a while through like online. You know, we have like phone calls, we have video chats. And interesting thing is, my parents, I travel to visit my parents, and my parents visit to travel me, because they first visited me last year in Europe, because I've never been to Europe. So I took them around Holland. We went to Hungary, and we went to Austria. So for them, it's like an interesting experience, because it's not just, you know, me being home, and it's like they actually get to travel and we spend time together. And with friends, I also, not only I keep in touch with them remotely, like by Facebook or by Skype or by WhatsApp, and I actually travel to visit my friends, because as a result of being a nomad, now my friends are spread all over the world. For example, in December, I'm going to travel to visit my friend who lives in Edinburgh, and we actually met in Thailand, and she's from Vancouver, I'm also from Vancouver. So it's like we now have interesting meetups and not just back in our hometown or something. So I do keep in touch with friends and family, and I also try to make friends in new countries.
All right, we have like 9 more minutes. Of course,
Oh,
if...
there's one.
Yeah. Can you hold? Thank you.
Thank you. That was a very fun presentation. I have a question. When you retire, what will you want to do? And what will you do?
Yeah, it comes up a lot. I thought about it, and same with my freelancer friends about the retirement. And I personally think, why do I have to stop working at some point? Like, why does it have to be like 60? Because I really like what I do, and I even spend my evenings and weekend doing it. And if I can be in the online business still when I'm 60 years old, why not? And some people actually choose to go for more like the government, you know, retirement, saving fund kind of things. I personally don't, because this is just personal opinion and personal choice, right? Like, I don't rely on the government, because what happens in a lot of countries, including Taiwan, is that, for example, like right now you need to put this much money, and then retirement age is this. And then they keep on increasing it. They keep decreasing the money, and then they keep on increasing the amount that you have to pay now, and then they keep on increasing the age of your retirement. So I find that not reliable. So I rather control my own fate. I put aside some investments actually, so that in the future, when I do need money, when I'm not working, and I can kind of use that investment or use that savings. So yeah, I take control of my own retirement savings.
I'm not fast enough, sorry. So let's do full circle here. And please, when you're asking questions from the cube, stand still so you will be seen on the stream. Otherwise, right now.
Eventually things start to get messy. So yeah, how do you deal with procrastination?
Yes, that's completely true, and it is actually a skill that the freelancers have to obtain. It's because we need to learn how to overcome procrastination. And for me, I'm a really big procrastinator, and it really comes with practice. So for example, it's about setting your own schedule. If you find that as a freelancer, you're now able to procrastinate, then set yourself 9 to 5 hours. And some people in the beginning, me too, like I find it really hard to work from home because there's so many distractions. There's TV, my mom cooked nice food, and then like my sister asked me something, and in the end, like, okay, no, I need to get out. I need to go to like the nearest coffee shop near me, and I'm the only one there. I don't know anyone. So I just like, okay, I have 4 hours left in my computer. I have to do something. So there's many ways that you can kind of train yourself to overcome procrastination. And now I mostly work from home, and I find it no distraction. And I will say that as a freelancer, your responsibility is now to your clients, because it is still a job. You have to treat a client that you cannot meet physically, a real client. Because if you do not show up at 9 a.m. at your office job, somebody's gonna call you and like, where are you? Right? But the same goes for freelance clients too. If I am not online at the time I said I will be online, I also get calls. I get a Slack call, I get a Skype call from my client. Where are you? So you just have to really realize that you do have a client. It's just that you are not meeting them physically. And there are ways that you can push yourself to overcome procrastination by setting deadline. Today you are going to finish this, I don't know, algorithm for this, or today I'm going to finish this one page of design. And there's many like productivity hacks where you can try to overcome procrastination.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have time for, I think, 3 more questions. It's here, there, and at the end, I think it's Alex, and this is it. Go ahead.
Hello, Jennifer. First of all, I want to congratulate you on your presentation. It was the best so far at this conference.
Thank you.
Secondly, personally, I love traveling, but I find it quite hard when trying to find local communities, like development. Mm-hmm. So can you just like give us some tips on that? Thank you.
Sure. So how to find local communities. So this is from the developer community. For design, like what I do is that I am aware of, so for me, I'm a woman, obviously. And then I just searched for like women in tech community. This is just like my personal tips. And I found there's, for example, women who code, there's like Django girls, and there's girls in tech, there's ladies at UX. So I first kind of start from these communities. And for you, I think there are also women in tech communities over the world. And usually these communities are global. That means you can go to the website and you can see which cities they have a presence. And another thing I do if I'm going to a place that maybe I don't know any of these global communities, and I just posting my network. I post on, for example, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and I belong to a lot of different Slack groups, maybe like 20 or so. And then sometimes I find like the local channel, and sometimes they have a channel for, say, Bulgaria or the other countries, and I just post like, hey, I'm a designer, or you can say I'm a developer, and I'm in town from X date to Y date, and I'm looking to meet up with local people. And if I know somebody who has been there, I just ask his friend, like, hey, I know you've been to Sofia. Can you tell me where I can find some local developers, designers to talk to? So I ask friends, I ask in my network, and I also search for these global organizations that are present in a lot of cities.
Thank you.
Thank you. So 2 more over there. I'll do my best.
Cool. Hi, Jenny. Thanks for the great presentation. I wanted to ask, how do you guarantee your payments? For example, if you work with third-party companies, platforms such as Upwork, there is some kind of insurance there, so it's fine. But whenever you work with customers, like directly, and especially for first-time customers, how do you manage this? Do you ask for a payment in advance? Or?
Okay, so the question is about how I handle payments with my clients, right? Okay,
yes.
Okay. For payments, every client kind of have a different request, but my usual practice is that they have to pay upfront. And that's actually one of the biggest tips for freelancers. I have some friends who are kind of new to freelancing, and they don't, for some reason, people are really afraid to talk about money. They feel like, also in the Taiwanese culture or Asian culture, they think it's like greedy to talk about money. But this is actually work. You did your work and you're supposed to be paid because they agree that they'll pay you for it. And what I do is that, for example, this project, they book me for 1 week, they will have to pay upfront. If they don't pay this amount upfront, I don't get to work. It's kind of the same if you go to, sometimes some place will ask you to pay upfront if you're ordering something, like online shopping, you have to pay before you get the thing. And that's actually my practice. Some people let the client pay afterwards. Like right now I have a client and then they are actually quite big, and then they say, oh, we cannot do prepayments, but then we are really quick at making the payment. So I was like, okay, I can give you this exception, but you have to pay me every 2 weeks. So you are the one to kind of negotiate with your clients on the payments term. And I personally would recommend asking for at least some amount upfront so that you don't get into this tricky situation. You did the work and then the client disappear. So that's something that you can put into practice to make sure that you are more, safe in getting your money.
Thanks.
All right, and the last question.
Jenny, I would like to ask you whether do you separate your working hours and your free hours? I mean, if we're freelancing, we all love our job, but do you actually tend to have some kind of schedule? I mean, it's not 9 to 5, but do you actually have some time that you work, or you just, whenever you get up and you work until you want to sleep again? That's my question.
Sometimes that happens, actually, when I'm really busy and when I'm really passionate about my work. And yeah, I wake up and I work until like 1 a.m. the whole day, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's not healthy. So I do separate my hours in that participating in other activities. For example, I am very much into going to the gym, so I will feel like I have to go to the gym now, and I just set a time like I'm going to this class, I'm going to yoga class, I'm going to this whatever dancing class. So like that is how I kind of separate my personal and work time. And I do work a lot, but it's not like I don't enjoy life too. So travel is part of my, I think, work. And say when I'm traveling, it would be, for example, 9 to 5 or 10 to 6, I am working. And after 6, I go to enjoy the nightlife or a restaurant, see the local scenery or something. And on the weekends, I also hang out with, for example, my friends, or I go to different events. And I do tend to have more like my free time on the weekends, evening. But the flexibility of being a freelancer is that if I do have something I need to do on the weekday evening, I can use that time. And I personally don't mind to, for example, not going to the gym today because I have a deadline. That's fine, I'll just go on the weekend.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Yeah. So first, I want everyone to give a really big round of applause for Jen.